Hey, it's Ryan. I wanted to tell you a story real quick about a second grader I just saw. Now, before you say, oh, I'm not interested because I have an older kid, hang in here because if you have an older kid, this is even more applicable to you. So this is an example of how well-meaning teachers, sometimes they miss the boat with ADHD. That is not their fault. As I've said in other videos, teachers, school administrators, mental health professionals get little to no training in ADHD, so they have a very limited understanding of it unless they go and seek the information out on their own. So I just saw a second grader who math is really hard for him. So what he tends to do with math is, because he has low frustration tolerance and he doesn't have the the ability yet to kind of push himself through it. When he's at home, he tries to go into learn helplessness mode and would whine and cry, and say I can't do this. And we've been working on that, and it's gotten better at home. And in school, what he does when math is hard is he just kind of sits there and doesn't produce work. So the teacher started having him sit right next to her desk during math. And what I explained to his mother is that that's really not a good idea for a few reasons. Number one, it's not a good idea because it's enabling his dependency on an adult, right? So it's basically sending him the message that, if you have an adult next to you, you'll produce work, but if you don't, then you're off the hook with producing work. It's kind of saying we don't trust that you're going to be able to produce work independently. Okay, so that's not helping him build resiliency, and that's not helping him build, his independence. Now, we have to do work with him on helping to develop his self-directed talk, or what we call using your inner coach, which at second grade is really not there, but we can put the idea in his head and start working on the concept of it, because he does have some context for understanding that, okay? But the other part with that is, he said to me, when I'm doing math in school, and I asked him first, I said, do you raise your hand and ask for help? He said, no. He said, I just sit there and don't do anything, which is completely accurate. So one of the things that is difficult for kids with ADHD, and as well as kids with related challenges like Asperger's, higher verbal autism, is what is called initiation of language, or asking for help, asking for clarification. And we can put all these things under the umbrella of self-advocacy skills. So if you struggle with self-advocacy skills or initiating, asking for help, guess what you're not going to do in class? You're not going to raise your hand. So the other reason why I don't want him sitting next to the teacher is because it's not teaching him to use self-advocacy skills and raise his hand and ask for help, right? Because that's one of the things you have to learn how to do. And I was explaining to his mother tonight that, every year I see a few new guys who went off to college, and they are typically home by November or December. And it's not because they were not capable of doing the work academically. It's because they couldn't control their screen time. It's because they lack the executive functioning to be independent. But some of the other times, it's because they do not ask for help. They're not proactive. So I actually saw a student who got multiple letters from the university saying, here's where, you're failing, here's where you need to go to help. For help, you need to do A, B, and C. And they had to do that because he wasn't doing anything and he was failing everything. So learning how to develop self-advocacy skills, ask for help, initiate that is really important. And the earlier we start it, the better. So I told his mother, this boy's mother, that, I wanted to speak with a social worker at school so I could say to her, look, I think it would really be better if he was not sitting next to the teacher during math, and that we have to collaboratively work on with him, learning how to raise his hand and ask for help if he's getting stuck. Not just when he wants somebody sitting there because he doesn't need that, but when he's genuinely stuck. Okay, so think about this. If you have older kids, then the pressure's on a little bit to help them develop these self-advocacy skills and independence. We really need to work on this. And if you feel that there's things that maybe, school could be doing differently, usually I find by middle school, high school, kids tend to be pretty independent. There's not a lot of hand-holding like there is in elementary school, but there's always things that we can be done to help push these skills along, okay? Feel free to leave any questions or comments below, and I will speak to you soon. Take care. Have a good night.